Hello and welcome to ThePrint, Cyrus and Mani.
Hi, how are you?
Much.
I'm good, and I think I'm even better after I watched the latest season of your show. First of all, congratulations, because I was going through a lot of reports which said that your show is among the one of the most watched in the past week, when ever since it has come out, the second season. So first of all, congratulations for that. I mean, I've only read like rave reviews of your chemistry, and I think the whole madness of Mind the Malhotras. And so yeah, first of all, yeah, congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. We're like really thrilled, and we knew that it would be something that the doctor ordered in a sea of really dark content, and we were hoping that it hits the right chord this like last time, but a bigger, better version. But to be the #2 watch show in the country is really the biggest compliment, and I think Cyrus and I are flooded with people who've written to us saying that, we binged all 10 episodes at one go. So it was a really lovely, light watch, and it put us in a good mood. There can't be a bigger compliment, really, isn't it, Cyrus?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really lovely to just get those messages from people. I was not in the country, and then I was in another timeline, and then just to read them all and just to figure out that people were usually comedy. I was talking about this earlier also. You watch one. There's no like who's the murderer at the end of the episode, so that you don't have to binge watch it. But when I hear that people just binged it all throughout, it was just wonderful to hear, and just the messages were really sweet. So very lucky and very thankful.
So I'll actually go back a bit in the terms of both of your careers, because I am somebody who's been a big fan of, like, there was a whole, I think MTV was the coolest thing that was happening when I was growing up. Like in a very small town. So, and then for you also, like, you've both like have had your individual journeys so far in multiple medias. I want to know, what has it been like working on a show which is very sitcom like for a whole generation? People go back and we have our favorites, right? We have our favorites in terms of kitschy, we have our favorite in terms of Sarabhai versus Sarabhai as well. And a lot of people have said that this reminds them, like this particular show reminds them of those kind of favorite sitcoms that people would watch when it was the whole era of television, right? So I wanted to hear from you. What has it been like when you're working in an OTT platform? There are 10 episodes. Like, obviously, in TV there would be like 500. It would reach 500,000 episodes. So there's a different format. You've both been associated with TV, for such a long time, and been icons actually. And then to shift and be accepted, actually not just accepted, sorry, accepted is a wrong word, to be like flooded completely with compliments saying that, oh, it's so flawless. This chemistry, this whole story seems so flawless. So I just wanted to hear a bit about that from both of you.
So, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I completely agree with you. Like, I've been whether it was Vagle Ki Dunya, or even, I don't know if you remember Flop Show.
Show, Jaspal Bhatti and Idhar Udhar. Remember
Idhar Udhar, and I had VHS tapes of them which I bought, and then used to keep watching the same thing over and over and find comfort in that. Comfort in the in this ever-changing world. I find that sometimes shows like these, there's a safety you feel. You know what I mean? That it's going to be as dramatic as this, and I kind of really enjoyed that. For me, it was interesting to sort of jump into this world, and the way OTT shows are, and you have a season, and then you take a break and you come back, and so things are finite and stories are finite. I kind of really enjoyed that, because you know that for a month you're going to come in, shoot, and create something, and then take a break, and it won't be a long prolonged situation, which I feel had its benefits, but also the problem with it was that if it became very successful, you had to drag it on and on and on. There was no finite understanding of the fact that we now will finish this and then take a breather and start again. I love that, because it gives you a little bit of a structure compared to earlier.
But I mean, if I could add, I just think it, like Cyrus said, we've grown up watching Ye Jo Hai Zindagi and Rajni with, Priya Tendulkar fighting the good fight. And we are seeing a lot of shows which deal with, a larger backdrop of, politics and underworld and, cops and drama, but it doesn't make everyday living less dramatic or less relatable. And this show just highlights, almost everything a family goes through, in their whole journey as growing up as when they're growing up as a family, and it makes light of it. It normalizes a lot of it, so that it's almost like therapy watching it. You end up feeling good. You end up feeling like your life ain't that bad, and that there's a solution for everything. I like those kind of shows. In fact, during the lockdown, we were actively hunting down shows that made you feel a little lighter about life, about seeing a ray at the end of the tunnel. And I think feel good, TV watching is also, it never went away, but we just didn't have enough to watch. And now we have one of our own. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. And because, like Cyrus says, it's finite, you can always, you have a story arc. It's not like nonstop running 7,844 episodes where you don't know who's grown up and who's, whatever. So yeah,
especially you're right. During lockdown, I realized that my consumption of viewing was only about dramedies or something a little easy on the nervous system where my heart rate was not shooting up and down. And I've kind of I like that world now.
Like Schitt's Creek and Emily in Paris. And then
so much fun.
want to watch that kind of, feel good stuff.
Absolutely.
So actually, I'm going to use something that you used about the idea of therapy, which is what the show has, like the first season and the second season. It has taken actually therapy very in an interesting way, because we don't see a lot of conversations about therapy, despite it becoming mental health, be it on social media, be it on OTT. Generally, it has become a thing, at least in India. I will not talk about outside India, but in India, I think COVID and all of it, brought out that element where, like you also mentioned, that we were also wanting to look at a certain kind of show, because you didn't want to take the added stress while living through a pandemic, right? Coming back, so how was that? What do you have to say about that? How finally there's a couple who seem to have everything going okay. Again, our understanding of a couple going through a rough phase is extreme, right?
Yeah.
It has to be horribly wrong
yeah.
for people to take therapy. That is the idea still. Even for even my contemporaries or younger people, they think that something has to be horribly wrong, and only then you walk into therapy.
Which is why, right at the outset of the first season, the show begins saying that we don't want to end up as our friends, the divorced couple. So let's find out what can possibly go wrong and go for it. So in a way, yes, after COVID, especially, everyone's got some form of PTSD, with whatever's happened and with everyone living together. I'm so glad that this show normalizes therapy, because if you can go to a doctor when you're not well, you got fever, I don't see why a therapist should be such a, oh my God, she's seeing a therapist, she must be pagal. Colloquial way that we treat therapy has been completely normalized in the show. So Rishabh and Shefali are going to this equally crazy and quirky therapist to say, to relate what they see from normal life and find solutions within the problems. And because it's treated in such a light-hearted way, I love the fact that people are openly talking about, hey, so many people wrote to me and said, I'm taking therapy, as the first time I've said it. I'm like, good for you. I mean,
I got people telling me some very interesting things, that one person in the relationship didn't want to do therapy.
Oh.
And then they saw this because they thought that they don't need it, or that person or that husband or wife needs it. And couples therapy, I met a guy at the airport, I remember, and he told me that my wife was completely against it. And then she saw the show, told me to watch it. And I'm like, but so what is done is sometimes you need a show where something a little treated usually as something heavy is slid in, and it starts neutralizing and normalizing stuff. And especially now, earlier India, therapy used to be your chacha, then you used to go to your auntie's room, then your masi ke paas chale jao, mera dimag mat khao. But now, as we're getting more insular, things are changing, and we all really need to find that dialogue with someone or the other. So I think the one good thing, if nothing else, that MTM has done is it's made everything normal, and it's also made you understand that the therapist also needs therapy.
Yeah. So no one's beyond it, everyone's,
humanized everything a little bit, I feel.
Yeah.
Actually, and there's an instance actually in the season where you were told that, you need to get away from your YouTube and focus on your family. That's something that's insinuated. And then you're telling them that, women are not simply about, they're not just wives, they're not just homemakers, that, they have their own life as well. So I felt like that was really, really interesting. Like I said, in a sitcom format, we often don't find a lot of, let's just say, politically correct statements, let's say, if nothing
So
else.
I must
But there was something interesting.
tell you that the writers Karan Sharma and Syed Sangha are very woke men. Funnily enough, these lines were written by two men. So who understand the dilemmas of being a modern woman, of being any woman from any, whether it's an urban or a, smaller town woman. The fact is that it has a very beautiful thread of feminism running through the show, whether it's, the other topics we'll touch base with later, but about Shefali saying it, this working woman's guilt is something that I don't want to have anymore. You going to work is considered normal, but me finding a passion or something that I want to do is always looked at my time away from home. And how is that fair? How are we equal partners if I'm going to feel that guilt and you don't? So her coming out with this, or her insisting to her husband that she is an entity who will follow her dreams, and him being extremely supportive of it, is something that I knew would touch the chord, with a lot of women who are going through, who are in their 30s and their 40s. And I'm glad it did. And I can see visibly that a lot of people have felt very empowered by Chef going ahead and saying it as it is, rather than keeping it inside and, corroing with it.
And I think it's nice. It's not too like
it's not shoved into
monologue-y. Okay, now is my moment where we're gonna, and the husband's howling and she's breaking a pan on his head.
It's done very subtly, and it's just
and I think that there's also the predicament of the average good guy who doesn't want, who somehow doesn't want the role of the provider on his head.
Yeah.
Like, what about that conversation? Like,
Right.
remember, like I think that Rishabh is also a guy who's like, man, I never said I'll be the best at this job, which you have given me, and purchasing other people's dreams and thinking it's your own, and going through all the dramas of parenting and all that. So underneath this sort of comedy thing, that these people actually have very dramatic lives. Like, they most definitely need to be seen.
I don't think Rishabh has ever said that I want to provide for my family. He's totally okay with Shefali running a cafe and him being chill. So he doesn't have a problem.
Like, he'd be like, his whole dream is that somehow the kids disappear and he can live the life of chilling and watching movies and playing video games. And why is it that, otherwise they always show these super ambitious men, which is actually 1 or 2% of people who want to become these super achievers. Most guys want to just live a peaceful life and watch their 3 TV shows and go to sleep, and hopefully nothing super dramatic has happened to them.
I love the fact that the male protagonist of this show is a chiller who doesn't want to do the crazy ambitious things that most other protagonists want to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also interesting that I've noticed in many family sitcoms, everyone's got a very defined role. Like, the show always opens from the husband walking in and shutting the door with a briefcase which he chucks. The wife is always there. The kid's always eating cereal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even if it's moving 10% left or right, it's not a bad thing.
I was wanted to ask about what you just mentioned, that there are these certain stereotypes that are being challenged without being very in your face. Like, it's not like somebody's throwing a very heavy dialogue at, every few episodes, maybe saying that, oh, this is what we want to do. But do you think this show also, I think, in a way, brought back focus to the parents and their individual lives post what happens? Like, a modern couple, of course, yes, who have their own children. Obviously they are parents, but they are also a couple first. It's not just the therapy, it's also their own challenges. I think even now in India, we conveniently forget, like, once somebody has become a set of parents.
It's because your main role to bring out progeny and to, produce children is over, then you're nothing. You're just amoebas with, this amoeba will cook, this amoeba will earn. What about the interpersonal relationship? I mean, that just, people give up on themselves, how they look, how they interact with the other sex. It's over. Your life is over once you've plopped out babies.
That's my audition for an amoeba. But listen, I'm amazed how people keep that alive. Because even with couples who've been around with each other a long time and they don't have kids, half the time you're a logistics couple. I feel like we're discussing housekeeping all day. Iske beach you're trying to find that one, like, let's chill. I only find those people on Instagram. I've never met them. I've never met these couples who sit with 2 wine glasses. They always look super fit. most of, like in my relationship, there's a huge chunk of us discussing logistics. Are you picking this guy up? Why are you there? Where's that guy gone? Where's the food? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely no role playing is no role playing. Batman and Thakur is not happening for sure.
No, but
I'm so sorry, Tina, to interrupt. Can we take a last question?
Yeah,
We are
sure.
running late. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
So yeah, I was actually coming to my last question, by the way. So I have been a big fan of Modern Family. I have watched all of it. For me, this feels like the beginning of something like a DC version, our version, more relatable version probably of that. Probably slightly less the madness so far because it's just 2 seasons. So I think the madness isn't as, but I still feel like the show has, like, we've discussed so far as well, taken on certain very pertinent issues without making it heavy. So, like, do you also I just wanted to know, do you guys also have had the space to give your inputs about the kind of characters that you're playing and, maybe look at how you would want to see your character grow?
I mean, for sure. I mean, because Karan and Sahil write the show, I go through after that first draft for my character, I read the entire script thrice, only with Shefali's prism. And I said, but she wouldn't say this. She wouldn't do this. She wouldn't eat this. So they thankfully go back, and because they understand that both Cyrus and I have gotten into the skin of our characters, and we understand their motivations to be the kind of people they are, we have actually revised a lot of scenes where, we personally as characters don't see us, doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm sure Cyrus does the same thing.
Well, with me, this season was different. I felt that Karan and Sahil were like, no, but we really see it in a certain way. And so for the first time, I think because I've always got some line I want to say or some improv I want to add. And this time, I think it was more, I honestly give it to Karan Sahil for being very specific with Rishabh's character, because there was a lot of stuff that's happening in his life. The stories opened up a lot in his life. And so for me, I try my best to sort of see what I feel as Rishabh and what they feel as Rishabh. Sometimes we agree and sometimes we disagree, in all honesty.
I just realized one thing, Cyrus. I kind of prep Shefali before we start shooting, and then I'm like, I'm going to stick to this line because I prep for it. And you like improvising and adding to Rishabh as we go along and as we shoot.
All the time, because these guys win the argument. I give up on I have to become more argumentative.
Okay, then.
I give up. I've got this Karan and Sahil saying no. I'm going to try to sneak my stuff in. My whole life has been, how do I sneak one line in of mine and nobody finds out? Because but that's the way it is,
yeah. What I do the next time, pehle hi bata do.
I'll try this. Mini, I'm going to follow this. From the minute I see the script, I'm like, here's my list.
Yeah, this is it. But mujhe karna hi nahi hai. At that point, you get them by the balls. It's done.
Yeah. This is it. I've learned now. Now I'm like, next time we chat with each other, I'm like, this is what I want to talk about.
Good advice. That'll be $100. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But thank you so much to both of you for talking to me. This was wonderful. Like I said,
so nice. Thank you.
My nervousness has slightly gone away now.
Thank you so much for your time. It was
love the yellow nails, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.